state board.
May I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Cornell.
Here.
Trustee Miller.
Here.
Trustee Mulvaney.
Here.
Trustee Pierce.
Here.
Trustee Thomas.
Here.
Trustee Bree. Here.
Okay. The first order of business is, are there any corrections to the April 20th, 2017 Committee of the Whole minutes? And I believe, Dale, you have one.
Yes, I do. On the second page, where it's discussing the mobile food service vendors, about the middle of that first paragraph, it says, let's see, regulations state that all sales in the downtown must take place in an enclosed building, which does, and it says, does allow for the
Yeah.
operation. And I think it's supposed to be does not allow for the operation of food vendor stuff.
Thank you. We'll make that adjustment.
That's sort of a natty issue.
It was food. It was food for thought.
Yes, it was. All right, before that all spoils that was. Does anyone have any other corrections?
Well, we're-
Roll.
We are.
We're on the banana peel going downhill.
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Well, we got
Scott's got his car running. We gotta
Right.
turn this up.
To clarify the motion, as I heard it, it's a motion to approve the minutes of the committee, the whole meeting of April 20th with the not inserted, and the committee, and the village board meeting minutes of April 20th.
That's what I had said, yes.
Yeah, I heard it precisely. Could I have a
You'll learn
motion?
it. Yeah. So.
Do I have a second, Barbara?
Second.
Could I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Cornell.
Yes.
Trustee Miller.
Yes.
Trustee Mulvaney.
Yes.
Trustee Pierce.
Yes.
Trustee Thomas.
Yes.
Trustee Bree.
Yes.
Gail is wondering if this board will ever end. Alrighty, this is the time in which if there's a member of the public present who wishes to talk about anything that is not on the agenda, that they should come forward. Is there any such person here? Alright, hearing no response. The committee of the whole did not meet this today. We had a meeting of the golf committee, or I should say the golf board of directors, which approved the agreement that with the county, which therefore, having been approved by the board of directors of the golf club on behalf of the golf club, now will come to us later in our agenda for us to approve on behalf of the village of Glencoe. Trustee Green, may I have the financial committee report?
Yes. So we met on Tuesday. We had our normal review of the monthly finances. Everything, for the most part, is coming in on track. I think the one thing that was noted that might be a little different was we looked at property taxes, and it seems as though they may be trending down over the last couple of years. So we're going to do a little bit more work just to see if that's actually happening, or if there's some timing issue. But otherwise, everything is for the most part in line. Utility taxes a little bit light, but we've had a more couple months. The other thing we talked about was a budgeting error that went into the 2018 budget, where originally we had discussed a payment for the consolidation of the dispatch services of $228,000, and what got into the budget was $146,000, and so that creates a budgetary deficit of about $80,000. We discussed just what that meant, and it turns out that it will actually really not affect the overall finances of the village, because it looks like we will be getting, or we applied for a grant from the state to repay some portion of the cost of the consolidation, and we expect to get a grant of about $80,000 from there, and then there's also a rebate that's supposed to come from Glencoe, because it turned out that it would cost a little less than expected, of about $30,000. So the net would be about $110,000 less to the village than was the originally expected $228,000. So all in, it looks like we'll have $30,000 to the positive side, even with that budgeting error that went into the budget. So, convoluted way of saying we talked about it, it'll be fine. And then finally, the other thing we talked about was the community improvement program. Something that we're starting to review every month, the calendar for it, what's being done each month and each quarter, and just as we go. It's a dynamic list, and so the schedule of things changes each month. Generally not much, but a few things were put off. The HVAC upgrade in Village Hall and street resurfacing has been pushed out past June 1st, and then we are also beginning on the Starcom radio implementation all over the borough. And so that's something that we're talking about in the Finance Committee on a regular basis now, because fiscal 2018 is a year with a lot of capital improvements. So that was the meeting.
The only thing I'd add to that is we did provide an updated copy of what Trustee Bree was just mentioning at each of your places this evening. So, and that also is posted to your website. And that'll be a monthly update and change as we discuss it with the Finance Committee.
All right. Trustee Miller, was there a meeting of the Planning Commission?
There was a meeting of the Plan Commission. We first had a presentation from Lisa Shepard, who's the Executive Director of the Park District, to talk about their strategic plan and capital improvement plan. And there were a couple of things I wanted to mention because interesting ways in which they gel with some of the things that we're doing. As you recall, they did a survey of what people wanted in the village, and one of the things was to preserve open spaces, and that's consistent with some of the things that we've talked about in the Plan Commission and I think here. And they are also committed to taking on infrastructure problems that they have before committing to doing new work, which I was just glad to hear as a citizen of Glencoe. Next, we talked about design review guidelines. Right now, Glencoe has I think it's a 1978 document, which has the design review guidelines for the business districts in Glencoe. And one of the things that the Plan Commission, that the downtown plan recommends, is updating those guidelines. And the purpose of this is that there is a connection between the quality of the buildings and the open spaces, as well as the character of the downtown, and that's what attracts businesses and investment, and of course people wanting to buy homes here. So right now the current guidelines they're just out of date. I mean, there are guidelines like it should be pleasing and it should not be incompatible with its surroundings and it should not be bizarre, and those are obviously things that can be.
So you're saying it should be displeasing, non-compatible?
That's exactly. I didn't want to have to say it. I appreciate your doing so. So at any rate, the Plan Commission will start working on those, and ultimately, of course, it's a policy decision really. So the Plan Commission will make recommendations, be reporting back to you as usual from time to time, but it is a village board decision because it affects the character of downtown. So stay tuned.
Did it come up with Lisa? I know one of the issues the Park District talked about recently is the signage that they have for the parks, the signage the village has, and whether it all kind of mixes together or should be have some coherent look.
She did bring it up. I'm just trying to think what she said. I know that they want to be more consistent with their own signage. I don't remember her bringing it up vis-a-vis the village signs, but that's one of the infrastructure projects that I think they have is trying, for instance, each playground may be from a different vendor, and so then when you need a part for one, it's not the same as parts for another. They're going to make the drinking fountains all the same, things like that will just reduce costs.
I would add relative to that point specifically, I've had a couple of conversations with Lisa on the fact that the village is going to be looking at both gateway signage as well as wayfinding signage. And the idea of trying to work with them to make sure that it's compatible. We all want to direct people to the same places, and so we have already started talking about how that might work for the Greenway Trail, how that might work in the downtown, and a way to at least make the signage, if it's not identical, because there is some concern about there being identical signage, but compatible. And so we are working on that already.
Thank you.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, I remember having conversations on this. I mean, I think the new park district signs are really quite handsome. And so something like that, I think would be the village would be well advised to look at it carefully.
Any other comments?
Questions? Or- Anyway, if you start wandering downtown and thinking about, what you see and what you'd like to see and all that, by all means, share it with me.
Trustee Mulvaney, did the Sustainability Task Force have a meeting?
Yes, the Sustainability Task Force had a meeting on April 25th. Another meeting coming up this Tuesday. Everyone's invited. So in our last meeting, we prepped for our ravine workshop, which I think we've discussed in the past. So we did a lot of prep work for that, which I think we had a successful ravine workshop. We also talked about our active transportation alliance and the possibility of bringing that to the board for the August committee meeting of the whole. Also, I'd like to just comment here, like following on Barbara's thoughts here, the Sustainability Committee, we're approaching 1 year of service now, about 12 months, the committee itself, 12 meetings. And we have made some fair accomplishments, not all of which we've talked about here, but we're maturing our initiatives. As you recall, we had 7 initiatives that we were moving forward. Some we've actually completed, like the ravine workshop, things like this. There will be continuing efforts on the ravine workshop and some of our education awareness. We have reached out to the downtown commercial centers, et cetera. So we've done a number of things. And what I'm asking here or suggesting here is that that we can also provide guidance, and our initial 7 projects grown out of personal interest and strength can be augmented. I think it's a good time for us to step in as trustees and think about what is it you would like this committee to tackle. So what is it that's important, and where should we focus? We can continue to drive new initiatives. We have our own list, but I'm suggesting that maybe we get some input from you guys, because ultimately our charter was to serve the trustees. So we can keep going with our own list and expand our list, but I think we ought to get some more engagement here and dialogue here.
I like the idea of having maybe some of the people on your group come in and report, and then you can exchange that way.
Mm-hmm.
So get the sense of where you are in the original 7, other ideas that you talked about that maybe you might want to go forward on it, and then it could be back and forth, because I agree. I hate that concept of a group off to the side if they feel that they've been empowered by the village, but not really, and told what to do, but not really. And I think that's what you're saying, some direction. But it would probably be helpful if the group could come in. And I think it would also be good to recognize the people who are putting time in.
Great.
I think the Sustainability Task Force chair is scheduled to come to the board in June, actually, to give a report on the first year. So I think we're teed up for that conversation next month. So that'll be good.
One thing that I really perked up about when you mentioned the working with businesses, I don't recall specifically what you.
We have some awareness initiatives, and part of that is working with the downtown community, commercial centers. We have sent them, for example, a request for an inventory of the things that they're doing, inventorying their current actions, and I've been working on designing a little logo sticker that the community will get if they so choose to be a green business in Glencoe, and they will get a little acknowledgement sticker in there for their window or wherever they want to put it. And so we're developing some of these types of programs to just stimulate action and information, and use the downtown center as one place to get the word out that we in Glencoe do care about sustainability.
And I also like the continued engagement with the business community, because I think that fits in with one of the board's strategic priorities.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
I'm interested in your criterion for earning
it's a low bar.
the sticker. So, for instance, specifically what I have been thinking about, I volunteer at the North Shore Exchange, which to me is inherently green, because because they resell. Everything in there was previously owned. So, I mean, do they get credit for that? I mean, so I don't know how you
Yes, well,
figure it out.
yes, well,
I want to give them the sticker.
we are working on that, but it's designed not to be exclusive, but to be inclusive. and just
Right,
to
no,
be-
but I mean to get credit for it, so that they could get,
Yeah,
earn
yeah,
it.
yeah, what I'm saying is I suspect that they will be able to earn credit
Okay.
to get a sticker, yes. So, and then the anticipation is that, you know, year one is gonna be different from year three, right, in terms of getting the subsequent badge of honor. So initially, it's very inclusive, and.
If they put it on their window, you cut it off though, like year 2?
Yeah, no, you get like, you get a little gold star for each year or something along those lines.
Right, because you're not going to print new stickers.
We do not have all the details worked out, but the idea is that you will be able to expand your presence rather than tear off the sticker and get a new one.
Or if you got a sticker that would biodegrade within a year.
Yeah, they're photolytic, absolutely. Enough sunshine and they disappear. So anyhow, those are, as an example, we would love to have more engagement, and one thing I fear is that, and this can happen in some entities where once you form a sustainable or green group, the rest of the team can say, oh, we're done with that because they're doing it, right? And it becomes their issue. I really don't want that. We have to make sure that there's engagement throughout the organization, and the committee is not an excuse to not bring up issues associated with sustainability, or to think that we don't have responsibility for them because it sits over there in the green corner.
I wanted to mention that at our most recent Metropolitan Mayors Conference, I had occasion to be with the President of ComEd and their representative to the Venus Region Compact Group, and some other people also involved. And we had, as you know, the recommendation from our Sustainability Committee that we should update. This is the First Amendment. We were a member originally to the first version, and this is the updated version, and we did adopt the updated version of the Green Region Compact, Green Region Compact. But they were very complimentary on the discussions that came along with our doing that came from our Sustainability Committee, and they were especially complimentary to Ron, who's been in touch with them and working on behalf of our committee, and saying that they thought that we were doing an excellent job in paying attention to it and setting an example that was important to them. So my compliments to all involved. Okay, village manager's report.
I think you have the golf.
I forgot the golf committee.
That's right. I heard something about team initiative, so I thought that would be appropriate here. We're on a roll today. Hopefully my ball rolls down further. We had a meeting Monday night. It should come as no surprise that one of the things that we discussed was I guess it's technically the First Amendment to the existing Glencoe Golf Club agreement. Basically, it's the agreement that it looks like we have achieved with the Forest Preserve, which owns half the land on which the golf course operates. And without such an agreement, we would not be able to continue to operate. So that looks like it's settled, and everybody on the committee is thrilled about that. We continue to meet our budget, notwithstanding lousy golf weather in April. I think we mentioned it before, but a number of the local high schools have booked tee times for their programs at our golf course, which both helps them and helps us. I think finally one of the more exciting things is we're updating our point of sale system, and this will give us a lot more flexibility to have direct marketing to various segments of the golfing community, and potentially put in place some sort of loyalty program, again geared to specific interests in golf. So that's something I think that will be a net plus for the golf course, and that's my report.
Thank you.
you, Mr. President. I do have a couple of updates that I wanted to provide the board tonight during my report. The first relates to our garbage program analysis and a brief update on where things stand with that. We are moving forward and remain on schedule, and the plan is to bring staff's analysis to the village, or phase 2 analysis to the village board at the July committee of the whole for discussion. To date, several things have occurred. We have completed an online survey process that took place during the month of March that provided an opportunity for the community to offer us some additional feedback on our current program. We received over 450 responses. This was an all online program, or all online survey that you could fill out in person at the village hall. I don't know that anyone actually did that. 2 people, okay. We had 2 people come in and fill out a hard copy, but we had over 450 individuals and I should say households fill that out online. We will have a comprehensive overview of the survey data that will be provided to the board in July along with the remainder of our analysis. But one interesting set of facts that I wanted to share, 56% of the survey respondents indicated that they currently bring their garbage to the curb for collection, which is a little bit higher than what our survey that our staff did as part of phase 1. Of the 43% of the survey respondents that have top of drive service, 44% actually, 26% of those indicated that they might be willing to switch to curbside collection if the cost of curbside collection was less. So that's an interesting segue from our overall community survey that took place in 2015. It kind of supports that. About 59% of survey respondents indicated they would be somewhat likely or very likely to support a requirement of the use of standardized wheeled garbage carts, and ties with those individuals who are taking it to the curb already. A lot of those folks have a wheeled garbage cart from the village. So that's just a couple of interesting facts. We'll have more for you with the analysis that will come as part of my next point, which is the RFP, which is out on the street right now. It was released in early May, and we are getting results back next Friday. And it is a comprehensive RFP with numerous data points. We wanted to provide the board with the most inclusive set of data points as you're considering the various alternatives that we will bring back to you in July. There's been a great deal of interest from the private haulers. We had a pre-bid conference last Friday. We had 7 haulers attend that pre-bid conference. And as I mentioned, as we're expecting those results back next Friday, we will be analyzing them through the month of June and early July, along with the Solid Waste Agency of Northern Cook County, who has been an invaluable resource to us as we've moved through this, as well as Holland and Knight, who has done this in a number of other communities. So we have been greatly reliant on both of those organizations for their support. We have also been outreaching to the community. There's going to be a update, or there's going to be a article in the next Glencoe Quarterly, which comes out right around June 1st. We've also done a mailing to our business community, and we're using social media and website information to post to the residents. Getting a lot of clicks on that, which is good, and that underscores the interest, I think, in the community on our analysis, and their eagerness to participate in our survey has also helped in that analysis. So one thing that certainly remains very much front of mind for the staff as we work through this process is the critical nature of this service and how important it is to the community. That came through loud and clear in the survey. We had a number of comments through that survey that basically said, you know, don't screw up a good thing. We're interested in seeing what you can do and what we can, how we may be able to save some money, but make sure that attention to detail is very much part of any decision that the board may make. So we are certainly keeping that front of mind, and we will be exceedingly focused on the high quality of service our residents have come to expect, regardless of how the village board chooses to move forward. So as I mentioned, next Friday is the submittal deadline for the RFP. Adam and Dave in the Public Works Department have been really the champions of this, and as well as Don Kirk, and I'm looking forward to seeing what we get back. So we will be keeping the board in the loop on that, and as I mentioned, July is the fun presentation during the committee of the whole. Any questions on that at this point? Relative to mobile food vendors, I just wanted to provide a brief update, and Laura Bowl is going to provide that to you this evening. She's been the staff liaison on this project to date.
Sure. At last month's committee of the whole meeting, the board discussed possible options for allowing and regulating food trucks and sidewalk vendor push carts, known as mobile food service vendors, in the downtown. As of now, we're planning to bring an update to the board at the June committee of the whole meeting and include a draft ordinance with various conditions that were discussed in April. We anticipate that a zoning code modification would be necessary for consideration by the zoning commission. This could take place as soon as the July zoning commission meeting, assuming that the village board is comfortable following the discussion at the June committee of the whole meeting. We have begun engagement with the business community on this topic. Staff presented at the May 4th Chamber of Commerce Board meeting. The majority of the Chamber Board members that were present were in support of this idea, given that the village had regulations in place, including that locations would not be outside of existing food establishments, and that numbers of vendors at any one given time would be limited, as we discussed. They noted that they would hope to see vendors that complement our existing businesses and fill a void, and could also be an attraction to bring more people to the downtown. We are planning to continue outreach with the business community on this topic, and we'll present on it as part of a larger presentation at next week's Business Before Hours breakfast event, which is on Tuesday.
Thank you, Laura. So more to come in June, and look forward to that conversation.
I have a question.
Yes.
Laura, you said that most of the businesses were in favor. Was there any significant opposition?
I wouldn't say significant. There was comments from a commercial property owner who said he wasn't too familiar with many of these trucks, but he wouldn't want them to be an eyesore or be too abundant, or concerns that I would say the board addressed as well at committee of the whole in April. But
Yeah, I think part of his commentary was also that location for these
Yes,
is very important.
for sure.
So it wasn't a categorical disagreement with the concept. It was more
wasn't.
that it needs to be carefully regulated.
yes.
I would just note that it was the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, so not necessarily
Right.
every
Okay.
member of the Chamber of Commerce. What we did ask was that they share information with their membership on this, and that they keep them engaged as we go through this process with the village board. So our hope is that that's what they'll do, and we will try to engage them, and perhaps have them even attend the committee of the whole in June as well. I think that'd be helpful to have the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce there. Any other questions? Sorry? Oh, I just had a couple of other points I wanted to mention, relative to 911 dispatch consolidation. We've talked a lot about this, and part of the reason we have is because this is a critically important topic. We are now in the home stretch for the transition to the Village of Glenview for our dispatching operations. That official transition is expected to take place on Tuesday, June 6th. Our team has been working very closely with the Glenview team to ensure there is no perceptible impact to our residents and businesses once the transition takes place. In these final few weeks, we have been and will continue to step up our public information efforts, utilizing all of our tools available to do so. You may have seen there was a manager's blog in last week's e-news. That was one of our highest clicked managers blogs to date. And so we do know people are paying attention. We did a social media blast today on that, utilizing that blog, utilizing both Facebook and Twitter and Nextdoor. And public safety staff will be working with Glenview on training for the new computer-aided dispatch system over the next couple of weeks. We've also been installing various physical changes. That has included some hardening of the village hall doors, as the building will no longer be open 24 hours a day. The video phone that will be installed at the south entrance of the village hall is expected to go in. Carrie, is that prior to June 6th or after June 6th?
It'll be after there's a delay with the manufacturing.
Okay, so we will have a phone in place, certainly, at both entrances, but the video phone will not be available right away at that transition point, but shortly thereafter. There is signage that's been posted at the village hall and throughout the downtown that will remind residents of the new hours, as well as making them aware that the transition is near. So certainly, our anxiety level is starting to rise as that date comes closer, but we have a great deal of confidence in the team that we're working with at Glenview. This is not their first time at bat on this, and that has helped us a great deal. Our team was at a meeting today with Glenview as well as Northfield, Winnetka, and Kenilworth, and we continue to be working in close contact with those folks, our three communities that we worked so closely with once this became something that we had to focus on. We were talking a bit earlier this week about how that was 2 years ago, and it's hard to believe that 2 years have passed because there has been so much activity leading up to this date, and I'm very grateful to Director Lewandowski for the efforts that he and his team have put forth on this. It has not been easy, and the transition, though, I think will be, as I said, imperceptible to our residents, thanks to Glenview's ability and their having gone through this before. So we will keep you up to date as that comes closer, and if any changes in that date occur, we will also let you know that. Just a few upcoming special events I wanted to make mention of. Memorial Day Remembrance Ceremony takes place at 11 a.m. on Monday, May 29th, which is Memorial Day at Veterans Memorial Park. This year's solemn ceremony will include a program developed by the Glencoe Historical Society that commemorates the 100th anniversary of the United States entry into World War I, which incidentally is one of the words just slipped to my mind. That is what they are going to be discussing through this coming year at the museum, the Historical Society Museum. So it has worked well to be able to tie both together. It's not going to rain, but if it does, as it did a couple of years ago, the ceremony will be moved to the Takeoff Center, but we're expecting a dry event. Public Safety is hosting a blood drive at the Village Hall on June 1st, which is Thursday, and I believe 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. Those are the hours. So we'd encourage you, if you're able to stop by and join us for that. The Glencoe Grand Prix, the 11th annual Glencoe Grand Prix, takes place Saturday, June 3rd. Parking and traffic restrictions in the downtown are imposed Friday night, Friday the 2nd of June, beginning at 5 p.m. Movies on the Green kicks off on Wyman Green for the summer season on Friday, June 9th. And finally, the Glencoe French Market opens for the season on Saturday, June 10th. On Wyman Green, there will be a ceremonial season kickoff beginning at 9 a.m. We did send out an invitation to the village board, and we've heard back from a few of you. Hope you can all join us, or those of you who are in town can join us as we kick off what will be an exciting second year of the French Market. And with that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Okay, in my effort to correct all of my mistakes as I go through the evening, I really meant to compliment Adam on his work on the Sustainability Committee and the tremendous compliments he got when I was at the Mayor's Conference. So I'm that as well as only thing that I really have to report is our next village meeting will be June 15th, 2017, and then we'll have our pictures of the new board and that, so we won't start summer non-dress formal wear until our July meeting. Alright, the next order of business is the consent agenda. Any questions or things with respect to the consent agenda? If not, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I so move.
Second?
May I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Cornell?
Yes.
Trustee Miller?
Yes.
Trustee Mulvaney?
Yes.
Trustee Pierce?
Yes.
Trustee Thomas?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Okay. In terms of our regular business, our first order of business is consideration of resolution approving a Starcom 21 user agreement between the Village of Glencoe and Motorola Solutions, Inc., as well as authorization for the expenditure of budgeted funds for the purchase of Starcom 21 radios and equipment for an amount not to exceed $300,000. Director Lewandowski, could you give us a little background on that?
Sure.
Good evening. In your packet is a recommendation for Starcom 21 radio network implementation. We are seeking approval for both the Starcom user agreement with Motorola as well as the expenditure of $300,000 of budgeted funds for the purchase of Starcom 21 radios and equipment. As you know, public safety participates in a shared radio network with 13 partner communities called NORCOM. NORCOM uses T-band radio frequencies, and a federal mandate will require us to abandon those T-band frequencies by 2021. The existing NORCOM network is approaching 18 years of age and will need replacement well before the 2021 deadline. Building out an entirely new NORCOM radio network would be cost prohibitive for the NORCOM communities. As a result, Glencoe, along with NORCOM partners, explored the options available and determined that joining Motorola Starcom 21 now, rather than in 2021, would be cost effective and serve our short-term and long-term radio needs. Starcom 21 was developed by Motorola specifically for public safety use, and the network is currently in use throughout the state of Illinois. The NORCOM communities approached Motorola as a group to keep sub-networks in place, as well as to take advantage of group pricing incentives. Sub-networks are vital to automatic and mutual aid as multiple police departments share a radio frequency. Glencoe and its NORCOM sub-network partners, Kenilworth, Northfield, Wilmette, and Winnetka, are planning to transition as a group to Starcom 21 in the fall of 2017. However, this will address the police radio network only. In the meantime, Glencoe needs to transition to Starcom 21 for fire dispatch when we consolidate in June, because Glenview uses Starcom 21 for their fire dispatch. Glencoe presently utilizes a fire radio network that's specific to Glencoe. Transitioning to Starcom 21 for fire dispatch will increase our ability to communicate with the broader fire radio network, enhancing mutual and automatic aid responses. Expenditures for the Starcom 21 radio network transition were included in the fiscal year 2018 budget as part of the community improvement program. $300,000 has been designated to cover radios, equipment, installation, programming, airtime, and maintenance costs. Staff is requesting approval for the $300,000 total expenditure at this time. Since full implementation of the Starcom radio network will be separated between the police and fire implementation timelines, purchases will be phased throughout the fiscal year. The first phase will be to equip fire vehicles and a limited amount of portable radios in preparation for fire dispatch with Glenview, at a total cost of roughly $55,000. Subsequent purchases will be made within the remaining balance as the police radio network transitions to Starcom in the coming months. Staff will update the board as purchases are made throughout the fiscal year, and we anticipate the final cost will be less than $300,000 due to group pricing incentives and repurposing of some existing radios that we've received from Cook County. In April, Motorola accepted Glencoe's application to join the network, and now Glencoe must enter into a user agreement with Motorola. One of the benefits is that we will no longer own a radio network. We will be subscribers paying monthly fees to Motorola. That's going to reduce our costs for things like repairs, maintenance, and upgrade, because those costs will be borne by Motorola rather than on us and our partner communities in NORCOM with our present radio network that we own. We're recommending that the village board approve a Starcom 21 user agreement with Motorola, as well as the expenditure of budget funds for the purchase of Starcom 21 radios and equipment for an amount not to exceed $300,000. I'd be happy to answer any questions the board may have at this time.
Good question.
Yes.
Will this require additional towers or
It will not.
infrastructure?
It will not. One of the benefits of this is the radio network is owned by Motorola, and they build out the towers.
Yeah, but will they be building them in Glencoe to serve Glencoe?
They will not. There will be 2 radio towers that will benefit us. One's going to be built in Winnetka, and one's going to be built in Evanston. It's similar to a cellular network. The existing towers in other jurisdictions help our network.
If I'm correct, didn't this also help to reduce the cost of our integrating into Glenview, because then we didn't have to spend the money to accommodate our current radio system when we integrated in, because we won't be in Starcom, which is what they use?
Yes, and that is part of the rebate that we were talking about earlier that we're going to get from Glenview. Originally, we were planning to use a radio patch, so to speak, so we can stay in our conventional fire network. But as we were doing the implementation, we realized we can do some cost savings by going to Starcom a little quicker for the fire side, which is exactly what we're doing.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
If there are no other questions or comments, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
May I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Cornell?
Yes.
Trustee Miller?
Yes.
Trustee Mulvaney?
Yes.
Trustee Pierce?
Yes.
Trustee Thomas?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Our next order of business is consideration of a resolution authorizing the village manager to execute an agreement with H.R. Green of McHenry, Illinois, for plan review and inspection services. Dave, could you fill us in on that, please?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Included in your agenda packet tonight is consideration of an agreement for plan review and inspection services. Because this is such an important step for the department, I wanted to present a brief overview. The village's community development function operates as a division of the Public Works Department. The responsibilities of the building division include plan review, permitting, and inspection services for all residential and commercial development, application of building codes and local permit regulations, and interpretation and application of the village's zoning code, tree preservation regulations, and construction site management standards. Staff in the building division interact on a daily basis with residents, architects, builders, and realtors. In addition to the internal staff, the division is supported by outside professional services for plumbing, fire and life safety, and health inspection services. Under the steady guidance of Building and Zoning Administrator John Hood over the last 30+ years, the village has continually provided accurate and reliable building and zoning code information and maintained comprehensive building permit services from in-house plan review with consistent turnaround times to routine scheduling of building inspections. The retirement of the Building and Zoning Administrator next month prompted staff to look at the potential of providing a more comprehensive alternative service delivery model for building division services. Following a detailed review and analysis, staff has concluded that this model will be the most efficient, cost-effective, and practical way to augment the varied services and responsibilities required in the building division as we look at reorganization following John's retirement. The process that staff has taken in considering this change in service delivery has involved meeting with representatives from consulting firms that provide these services, talking with neighboring communities who currently use outside professional services to augment or completely replace their own staff, and reviewing our own current in-house building division processes, including the public safety department components as they relate to fire and life safety. All this background work allows staff to refine the scope of services the department would be seeking with an RFP for plan review and inspection services that is intended to mirror the performance of the historical practice while at the same time continuing to provide the personal and accessible customer service that residents, architects, and contractors have come to expect. Through the RFP process, the village received 2 proposals from qualified consultants, and after thoroughly reviewing and vetting the merits of each proposal, including costing out the services, staff identified H.R. Green of McHenry as the consultant that will best meet the needs and expectations of the village to provide plan review and inspection services. In attendance at tonight's meeting representing HR Green is Frank Urbina, who will be the project manager for the Glencoe contract. HR Green is a national firm providing comprehensive services in a variety of engineering areas as well as services to local government where they provide comprehensive building plan review and inspection services for building, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire, and life safety code compliance. HR Green staff in both the plan review and inspection disciplines are International Code Council certified, and they are committed as part of their proposal to completing initial plan reviews for new construction within 5 business days. The use of HR Green to augment staff through this service agreement is expected to initially maintain and to work towards improvement of the resident service experience, expedite the plan review process, formalize the inspection process and the reporting, and reduce the workload on public safety personnel who presently perform routine fire and life safety inspections. Based on permit history provided by the village and the hourly rates provided by HR Green, the estimated annual cost for the full range of services is slightly over $140,000. And this cost in the first year of the agreement will straddle 2 fiscal years. The cost of these services is expected to be more than offset by unused personnel costs from the vacancy that will be created by the retirement, as well as budgeted funds for building, plumbing, and fire life safety inspection services. Staff estimates that terms of the HR Green contract for plan review and inspection services will ultimately result in a cost savings opportunity for the village. The estimated annual hours for plan review and inspection services will allow for HR Green staff to have a presence in the village hall for several days a week, but that schedule will be variable in the first few months until staff determine what works best. The agreement provides the village the flexibility to scale work hours up and down in response to the need, and staff will be monitoring the ability and effectiveness of HR Green coverage and make adjustments as necessary to maintain the level of customer service that is expected. So in summary, given the competitive proposals received and the qualifications and experience of HR Green, together with the expected improvements to the customer service experience and the cost savings that is anticipated, staff recommends the village board approve a resolution tonight authorizing the village manager to execute an agreement for initial 2-year term with HR Green of McHenry for plan review and inspection services. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board might have.
Question?
Thank you.
Peter?
Yes. I'm curious if there's a plan or a process, so as HR Green learns how we do business, how will they be enabled or empowered to change the business processes? Is there more than just plug them into our old process? I assume that once they get here, they're going to say, hey, you're going to be more efficient and change your process. What does that look like?
That's an excellent question, and it's one that we spent considerable time in discussion on. Some of the value-added service of this contractual arrangement will be, number one, HR Green's involvement with us in evaluating that very thing and looking to make substantive changes in the near future. Not initially. There'll be a period of months when they're observing and seeing how we do what we do, but our process is ripe for change and improvement, and they are more than equipped and have done this in other communities. And the second value-added benefit will be, if you recall, we've committed to evaluate our building permit fee process and our schedule, and they will be an active player in that evaluation process with us.
So more than filling a
Absolutely,
machine.
absolutely.
Great. And then the other thing you mentioned was that there's a fair bit of citizen engagement in the former role, that you're meeting with customers face to face, et cetera, so representing the village. Is the agreement for them to play that role, or does the village maintain that customer interface?
It'll be a little of both, and some of that will be worked out in these months ahead as to what that best mix is as far as an on-site presence. They will absolutely, when they're not on site, they're going to be available to answer technical questions, whether they're from a resident or or from a contractor or an architect via phone, and they're in this same arrangement in a couple other area communities, and that works quite well. We will still, our staff will still be the, will control and project manage the contract as it moves forward. Frank, as our primary point person, will be integral to that transition. But some of that, as I said, is going to be worked out in that first 3 to 6 months. But it's our intent to still have technical presence in the Public Works office in the Village Hall, multiple hours a week, and the final determination on that is still under review.
I have one more unless you guys have questions. I've forgotten what my last one was.
Shall I ask mine?
Go
What do you
ahead.
think?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll come back, Peter.
So who will be the interface with residents, et cetera, when John would have been taking calls? Who will they first talk to?
Well, that'll be a little bit of by committee. I mean, Nathan Parch in our office will move over into a different role, both on the community development and the building and zoning side. Nathan's staffs, our plan commission will move over and staff the zoning board beginning this summer, and he will be the primary point person. But we've got other staff and our clerks in our office. A lot of that initial interface is done by others besides John today, and so it won't be.
So there won't be any confusion.
It's not going to be a very dramatic change. But
Okay.
when HR Green staff are in the office, there'll absolutely be times when we'll have them interface directly with clients at the counter.
And will, so, anything that's new, you wonder how people will react. When HR Green staff are interacting with people, will they be presented as contractors for the village? How will that be presented to people?
Yes, and some of that detail is yet to be determined. We've also talked about a number of ways to introduce them to, much of our clientele at the counter are repeat customers, builders and architects, even residents that do work themselves. And so we've already discussed with HR Green some early FAQ breakfast meetings where we can introduce them to the community and to those different groups. But when they come up, they're going to be in an HR Green logoed shirt and present themselves in that way, representing the village's building division service.
So I remembered, yes, totally know how to kill a joke, but beyond the HR Green name, and I know we've talked about this in the past, but sort of for the record, that this expands the village's capacity to evaluate and contribute to some of the greener codes, the newer USGBC, for example, might be familiar with that, and bring a different perspective from a sustainability perspective. It's expanding our view, not reducing.
Correct, and one of the things that we discussed in our meetings with HR Green was again that value added benefit of their participation. As you know, when we brought the code updates to the board earlier this year, we did not bring a recommendation on the ICC Green Code with the idea we'd be evaluating that in the year to come. Well, they will play an active role. They have certifications in that area that we did not presently have on staff, so they will be a great asset in that area. Good question.
Any other questions? If there are no other questions, may I have a motion?
I so move.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Can't do it. List. Trustee Cornell?
Yes.
Trustee Miller?
Yes.
Trustee Mulvaney?
Yes.
Trustee Pierce?
Yes.
Trustee Thomas?
Yes.
Trustee Bree?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, David. The next order of business is consideration of a resolution approving a First Amendment to the Glencoe Golf Club Agreement originally adopted in 1922. And I'm going to have Stella present a little bit on this. just as she did at the golf club board meeting. And as I said, the board of directors of the golf club approved this at their meeting, and so it now comes to us, since the golf club has approved it, to look at it and to consider approving it as the village of Glencoe, since this is a three-way agreement. So,
Thank you, Larry. To consider the resolution approving a First Amendment to the Glencoe Golf Club Agreement. The Glencoe Golf Club is located on 126 acres in Glencoe. 66 of those acres are owned by the Forest Preserve District. 60 of the acres are owned by the village of Glencoe. We are currently existing on an agreement from 1923, and in order to consider improvements to the golf club, we thought that it might be a good idea to develop amendment to the existing agreement. And this amendment is now called the First Amendment to the Glencoe Golf Club Agreement. Everything in this agreement will supersede the original agreement. Briefly, the financial terms: there's an initial payment of $50,000 to be paid to the Forest Preserve District within 30 days of the effective date. A one-time installment payment of $31,250 to be paid by September 1st of this year. Then we go to an annual payment of $62,500 or 3.6% of gross revenues, whichever is larger, beginning in September of 2018. This annual payment will be the only payment that is required to be paid to the Forest Preserve. There are no other annual fees. Permit fees will be required. These payments do supersede and take the place of any payment that is or was due or may have been contemplated. The term of the agreement is 20 years and may be extended by agreement of all parties. If we secure financing within the first 7.5 years of the agreement, it will allow the term of the agreement to be extended up to 12 years without the mutual agreement of all parties, providing for a maximum of 32 years on this agreement. The agreement does grant the club the right to terminate the agreement if it abandons golf course operations on the property. Following this meeting, this agreement amendment will go in front of the Forest Preserve District Board at their June 6th meeting, and part of this amendment is that it must be signed no later than June 30th of this year. This agreement has taken a very long time, over 6 years of discussions and negotiations with the Forest Preserve District. All of the numbers have been vetted in detail by the Finance Director, Dave Clark, and myself, and it is our recommendation that we go forward with this amendment to our existing agreement. Any questions?
I have one or two really nitpicking things, which is both the Stella's piece references the agreement and attachments to Exhibit A and Exhibit B. None of the attachments are so labeled as Exhibit A and Exhibit B. The agreement itself also references an Exhibit C, which has something to do with plants and so forth, and there is no Exhibit C. So,
the agreement has a piece of paper that says Exhibit A, Exhibit B, Exhibit C. They may not have made it into your packet, but this is the final form. Exhibit C is being prepared by the county. It's their list of plantings, but all of their list of plantings is on the county's website. We reviewed that.
okay, but for the record, those Exhibit A, B, and C are in fact incorporated into what we're approving.
That is correct. Can you say a second?
No, that's really okay.
So is the list of plantings the trees on the golf course that are on Forest Preserve side of it?
No.
No,
list of-
the native plantings only come into play if we do build a new clubhouse, that we would have to integrate their list of native
Oh, I got it.
plantings
Perfect.
into that landscape design.
Yeah, thank you. And then for my, refresh my memory here, the 3.6% of revenues was gross revenues of operations of the golf course. And did we clarify whether or not that includes the clubhouse sales or other sales, or is it strictly fees? I mean, I know we went back and forth, but I can't remember.
It's gross revenues of the golf club. So earnings for the golf club, so that would include the rent of the concession area. Right, paid to the golf club.
But not their own,
Not their own revenue.
not earnings
Right.
off of the golf club property.
Right.
There's an exhibit attached, that explains how that is to be computed using last year's statement, so that it's very clear how you go about and actually executing it.
Which I appreciate greatly. I like that.
Any other questions? I would again, as I had mentioned at our prior meeting, when we were looking to have this agreement finalized, I want to thank Steve for all of his hard work on getting this done and to the form that it's in, and I want to especially thank our Commissioner Larry Sufferman and the county board, and especially President Brett Glencoe for helping to shepherd this through and get it done.
Well, Brent, thank you. I'd like to thank Stella for getting this thing finally through after all the time and effort.
Thank you.
And I assume that means that when I ask for the motion, we'll actually get a motion and get it passed, so that we agree with it.
Well, whoever those people are, the directors of the golf course, I think they approved it.
That's true.
Yeah, you can never trust those people.
There you will.
It's seldom that you get to vote twice in one meeting on the same group.
With the different hat.
Yeah. All righty, any other questions? If there are no other questions, may I have a motion?
I so move.
Second?
May I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Cornell?
Yes.
Trustee Miller?
Yes.
Trustee Mulvaney?
Yes.
Trustee Pierce?
Yes.
Trustee Thomas?
Yes.
Trustee Bree?
Yes.
Staff, as our outgoing and very valuable trustee, do you have anything to like to say?
Well, actually, I'm not big on speeches and certainly not big on goodbyes, so let me just simply say it's been both an honor and a privilege to serve the village. Getting to know members of the board and the staff, a great group of people who really care. And I know even though I technically won't be on the board, I'll be able to reunite throughout the day, wandering. But in all seriousness, from the depths of my heart, I wish everyone all the best in the many years ahead. And I look forward to continuing to be a happy resident, and I thank you for this great opportunity.
Thank you for all your service. We won't do it any more formally later on. Thank you. It's been a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other business? If not, may I have a motion to adjourn, saying aye?
I so move.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Trustee Cornell?
Yes.
Trustee Miller?
Yes.
Trustee Mulvaney?
Yes.
Trustee Pierce?
Yes.
Trustee
Think about
Thomas?
it.
Yes.
Trustee Bree?
Yes.
Okay, we are officially adjourned, and our all is board.
I appreciate it. Just started, yeah, I heard your wife is, I haven't met her, but I heard she's. No, I love that. It's great. My kind of gals.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And a great house. So many great It better not be a bar.
How many times have you done this?
No, we just walked up and sat down.
I Oh, okay, so we don't.
You're the group in waiting.
Group in waiting.
If you would, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, please state your name.
I, Lawrence R. Levin,
Having been elected village president
having been elected village president
in the village of Glencoe,
in the village of Glencoe,
in the county of Cook,
in the county of Cook,
and the state of Illinois,
and the state of Illinois,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and the ordinances of the village of Glencoe,
and the ordinances of the village of Glencoe,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of village president
the duties of the office of village president
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability. All right.
Mr. President.
I'll ask each of you to repeat after me, and when I get to say your name, you say your individual.
Are we doing it together or?
Yep,
Yeah.
all three together. We have harmony.
Good, okay.
I
I,
state your name,
Dale Thomas,
having been elected village trustee
having been elected village trustee
in the village of Glencoe.
in the village of Glencoe.
I should go back and make sure we do it right, because Dale's got it in his right hand. We all have to raise our right hands while we're swearing. So let's start over again so we do it right. All right. I state your name,
I, Dale Thomas,
having been elected village trustee
having been elected village trustee
in the village of Glencoe,
in the village of Glencoe,
in the county of Cook,
in the county of Cook,
and the state of Illinois,
and the state of Illinois,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and the ordinances of the village of Glencoe,
and the ordinances of the village of Glencoe,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of village trustee
the duties of the office of village trustee
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. You're welcome.
Can we get like cake and champagne?
May I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Cornell.
Here.
Trustee Listener.
Here.
Trustee Miller.
Here.
Trustee Mulvaney.
Here.
Trustee Thomas.
Here.
Trustee Bree.
Here.
Did you do trustee?
I did.
Oh, you did. I want to make sure.
Okay. She's here.
Clerk, she's here. All righty. The first order of business is the appointment of various officers of the village and our various committees and staff. And of those, I will read the list of them. Appointments of official village positions to be village clerk, Bill Corrali, deputy village clerk, Laura Bowl, village attorney, Steve Elrod, village treasurer, Dave Clark, village collector, Dave Clark, village marshal, Carrie Lewandowski, and street commissioner, David Mao. Appointments of village board representatives to village committees. Trustee Thomas to be chair of the Golf Advisory Committee. Trustee Thomas to also be chair of the Golf Clubhouse Task Force Committee. Trustee Listener be chair of, not chair of, but to be a member of the Sesquicentennial Committee. and trustee Miller to be the vice chair of the planning commission, and trustee Mulvaney to be a member of the sustainability task force. Pursuant to Article 2 of the Glencoe Village Code, I am naming and appointing the following to standing committees. Our Finance Committee to be chaired by Trustee Bree and to be made up of Trustee Thomas and Trustee Miller. The Golf Committee to be chaired by Trustee Thomas. Appointing and reappointing to committees and commissions of the village, to the Plan Commission, Bruce Hubbard, being reappointed to a 4-year term expiring in May of 2021. For a Police Pension Board, Eric Birkenstein, who's a new appointment to complete the 2-year term that was just vacated, expiring on May 2018. On the Golf Advisory Committee, Matt Seeger, to a 3-year term expiring in May 2020. To the Zoning Board of Appeals and Zoning Commission, Alex Kaplan, to a 5-year term expiring in May of 2021. Community Relations Forum and reappointing.
He's completing a 5-year term, so it's
Oh,
not.
oh, I see, okay.
David Wood, reappointment as chair for a 3-year term expiring May 2020. Margaret Flanagan, reappointment to a 3-year term expiring May 2020. Steve Aronson, reappointment to a 3-year term expiring May 2020. Reverend Norris Jackson, being reappointed to a 3-year term expiring May 2020. Marty Olisco, to a new 3-year term expiring May 2020. Bob Young, to a new 3-year term expiring May 2020. On the Sustainability Task Force, Larry Riley, new appointee to complete a 3-year term expiring in 2019. Any questions? If not, may I have a motion to approve?
I so move.
Second?
May I have a roll call?
We have a motion and a second.
Yes.
Yeah.
Barbara Sanders.
Trustee Cornell,
Yes.
trustee Lister,
Yes.
trustee Miller,
Yes.
trustee Mulvaney,
Yes.
trustee Thomas,
Yes.
trustee Bree.
Yes.
Okay, our next order of business is a very pleasant and nice one. I'm presenting a resolution with respect to our honoring our former trustee now, Scott Pierce. Whereas Scott Pierce served with distinction as a village trustee for the village of Glencoe between 2013 and 2017. And whereas Scott Pierce consistently served the best interests of the village of Glencoe and its residents through a detailed, objective, and deliberate evaluation of issues in his role as trustee, in furtherance of his commitment to maintaining the quality of life in Glencoe. Whereas Scott Pierce served his various trustee assignments with distinction as a member of the Community Relations Forum of the Village Board, and provided significant guidance and thoughtful deliberation on development of the village's strategic priorities and long-term planning methodologies. And whereas Scott Pierce gave unselfishly of his time for 4 years and fulfilled his responsibilities to his fellow citizens in a most professional, responsible, and honorable manner, promoting the fair treatment of all individuals by being a clear voice for open, responsive government for all who live, work, visit, or do business in the village of Glencoe. And whereas Scott Pierce consistently approached the various issues coming before the village board with thoughtful consideration for the rights and values of those impacted, and represented the interests of all residents with support and wisdom. Now therefore be it resolved that the village president and the board of trustees of the village of Glencoe, Illinois, express on behalf of all the citizens of the village their appreciation to Scott Pierce for his outstanding service to the community as a trustee from 2013 to 2017. Be it further resolved, this resolution be spread upon the minutes of this proceeding, and that an executed copy of the resolution inscribed with the signature of the village president and bearing the corporate seal of the village of Glencoe, as attested by the village clerk, be presented to Scott Pierce, dated this 18th day of May, AD 2017, at the Village of Glencoe, County of Cook, Illinois. May I have a motion?
Well, before a motion, don't we have to discuss whether this thing? I want to say that before we get to a vote, Scott, I really appreciated being on board with you. I appreciated the fact that in every meeting you pushed, you asked the questions that you wanted to ask, that you thought needed to be asked, and it's very easy to go along with the flow. It's much harder to ask the question and make sure that you get the answer. And that kept me on my toes. I think it kept everybody on their toes. It was necessary in the final product of every resolution that we ultimately got to the exception possibly of this one, was improved by having you on the board.
You not only kept us on our toes, he kept us from being flat-footed. All righty. May I have a motion?
I so move.
Second?
May I have a roll call?
Trustee Cornell.
Yes.
Trustee Liston.
Yes.
Trustee Miller.
Yes.
Trustee Mulvaney.
Yes.
Trustee Thomas.
Yes.
Trustee Bree.
Yes.
It passes. Thank you.
Thank you. That was very kind.
Since we've gotten through the only really and most important thing of the entire evening, doing our resolution to our terrific and retiring trustee, before we break for refreshments, it seems to me that it would be appropriate for us to adjourn so that we can all fully enjoy the cake and celebrate Scott's being a retired trustee and Gail joining us. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Trustee Cornell.
Yes.
Trustee Liston.
Yes.
Trustee Miller.
Yes.
Trustee Mulvaney.
Yes.
Trustee Thomas.
Yes.
Trustee Bree.
Yes.
We are adjourned.